Malcolm Greenidge. All right. I'll take judicial notice of that.
Of all 6.
Yes. So,
Did you become aware that certain of those 6 individuals weren't cooperating, even though they had been served papers by California?
yes, sir.
And so did you coordinate with anyone to assist California authorities in locating these individuals?
I did.
Oh, and let me back up. There was also someone in New York that there's a compelling order for, correct?
I'm not sure if the order was served or issued, but yes, I know the individual in New York.
Did you locate someone by the name of Anthony Gomez in New York?
Yes, sir.
And he is currently on probation.
Correct.
And there's an effort to locate what jurisdiction he was in order to get a compelling order.
Yes, sir.
All right. What did you do with the people who weren't cooperative despite the California authorities ordering them to come to Nevada?
We went up on their phones, which means we received orders to where we can ping their phone location to try to identify where they were specifically at.
And for those people, well, how many pens do you think you did?
I think about 5.
And do you remember which 5 you had to do pens on?
Corey Edwards, Virgie Brooks, Roger Williams,
Was there Malcolm Greenidge on
yes, Malcolm was, yes. And I can't remember the last one. I know we've already spoke about him, though.
Well, no. How about Devontae Lee? Did you have to get one?
Yes,
Now, Devontae Lee was local, so we didn't need a compelling order.
correct.
Last Friday, did you coordinate with our local authorities as well as authorities in California in order to effectuate an arrest warrant in California for anyone?
Yes,
And who did you try to effectuate an arrest warrant on?
Corey Edwards.
And was he located at his residence?
No,
Was there any other person associated with Corey that was missing from his residence?
yes, there was.
And who is that?
His mother.
And is your understanding that she is 95 years old and an invalid?
She's in poor health, yes.
On Monday, was there an effort at another location in Compton to effectuate an arrest warrant for Mr. Edwards?
Yes, there was.
And was that successful?
No, sir.
Thank you, Detective. I pass the witness.
Thank you.
All right, cross-examination, Mr. Sanft.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing, Detective Gaddis?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you. Thank you for appearing here today.
Yes, sir.
Now, your testimony is based on your work with Clifford Mogg from 2023 on.
Well, I've worked with retired Detective Mogg since 2018.
Okay, so in 2018 to 2023, what did you do in furtherance of this case?
I personally did not do a extensive amount of anything. It primarily was being investigated by Detective Mogg.
Right, and so from 2018 to 2023, you didn't do anything of real note. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as a detective with Metro, obviously you have to qualify to become a detective in the homicide division of Metro.
We have a testing process.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where just because I asked to be on the homicide team doesn't mean I'm going to get on the homicide team, and at least I demonstrate qualifications to get there.
More or less, yes.
Yeah. Now, in terms of your training experience, though, fair to say it starts in the police academy as you're getting ready as a cadet before you become a full-fledged officer?
It's a police recruit, but yes.
Okay. And while you're in the academy, you learn skills that would help you become a successful police officer in our community.
Correct.
one of those things that you learn, of course, is how to write reports.
Yes, sir.
Officers' reports are a crucial tool that you would use in furtherance of your job as a police officer in Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
With regards to police officers' reports, sometimes you don't have to write a report. I would assume, like, for instance, if you pull someone for a traffic ticket and on the citation, you could write some notes or something along those lines. That wouldn't require you to do a police report
That's correct.
or officer's report.
Yes.
All right, but in terms of when you're conducting an investigation, fair to say that typically a officer's report would be written?
Typically, yes.
Yes. Now, can you explain to the jury why an officer's report would be important in the furtherance of an investigation?
The officer's report primarily is for our own reflection to recall really all the steps that we took throughout the entirety of an investigation. So it's a document that we can refer back to without going to each and every document specifically.
Now, fair to say, though, that the officer's report also helps in the event that, say, for instance, you get promoted to become a sergeant and someone else takes over your caseload because you're no longer the detective, right?
Yes, sir.
They would look at that officer's report to help them get up to speed as to what your investigation was at the time you get promoted to become sergeant.
Correct.
Or lieutenant.
Yeah.
Or captain.
I'll never see that, but yes.
I'm just hopeful.
Yeah.
Be hopeful. But with regards to your officer's report, for instance, when you are about ready to move on in the next phase of your career, for instance, those officer reports typically are prepared and completed upon your departure to whatever it is you're going to do next.
Most of the time, they try to get those done. Sometimes they're not.
Sure. Now, in terms of sometimes or not, can you tell us when is there an exception to the rule of when you do your officer's report after, say, for instance, when you retire?
Haven't retired yet. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
But fair to say, of course, if that in the event of an actual complete departure from the department, meaning you move on in your life doing something else, that those officers' reports should be completed prior to you departing the department.
I know the department would like them completed, but again, sometimes they're just not.
Yeah.
I've seen many cases where there's still open officers' reports with people who are no longer on.
Sure. And so with regards to those open officers' reports, fair enough, you know, they get created at some point in the future. How about like 1 year after they retire?
I don't know. Are you asking like would they or could they?
Well, have you ever seen an officer's report being filed a year after an officer retires from the department?
Authored by the original investigator? No. A lot of times, like there'll be either one of the guys from Cold Case that will kind of pick up a case
Right.
and finish that up, and so then that will be completed after the originating officer retired.
Okay. Well, what about 2 years after the main officer or detective in this case retires? Have you seen anyone actually, you know, finish up his officer's report 2 years after he retires?
And submit it still as an officer? No.
No. 3 years?
No.
And it's fair to say that there's common sense reasons for that, right? You want to make sure that your report is accurate, right?
Yes.
Because accuracy is important in what you do as a police officer.
Correct.
You want to make sure that your report is written in such a way, like you said before, someone could take that report and continue on with the investigation, who is still a detective.
Yes.
Okay. And also that report, in essence, becomes sort of a documentation of all the effort that that detective puts into the file, right?
Generally most of it, yes.
Yeah.
It might not have everything in it, but there's the vast majority typically goes in the officer's report.
Sure. Now, in this particular case, as you're sitting here right now, you work for the Metropolitan Police Department.
Yes, I do.
Do you work for the District Attorney's Office?
No, I didn't.
And the reason why you don't work for them is because they're two separate agencies, right?
They are.
They have two different purposes, correct?
Correct.
Your job as a police officer with Metro is to investigate and determine facts, fair?
Yes.
Now, at some point in the future, the District Attorney's Office, their job is to determine if they want to prosecute a case and actually litigate it like in front of this jury, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's not your role. Your role is just to find the facts.
And present it to them,
And
yes.
present it to the District Attorney's Office.
Yes.
Okay. Now, they do have investigators that work for them,
Yes, sir.
right? But fair to say, those investigators are not doing what you're doing, right, which is looking for facts.
Well, I object to looking for facts. And one calls for speculation.
What's your response?
I'm just asking for her experience as a detective as to how investigators fit into the overall picture of what we're talking about here. I don't believe it's speculation.
Can you rephrase it? Because I
Sure.
forgot the original question.
So with regards to your role and the experience you've had as a police officer, have you ever seen a Clark County District Attorney investigator be the primary person to put on an investigation?
Like as the lead investigator? No.
Yes, that's correct. So no, the answer is no.
Correct. Not in my experience.
And not in your experience. Now, in terms of what you're doing here, your testimony here was specifically about the search warrant and what happened when you located, whatever it is you located during the course of the search warrant, right?
Yes, sir.
So in the search warrant itself, did you apply for that search warrant?
No, I did not.
Now, typically, as a detective, when you're applying for a search warrant, you fill out an affidavit,
Yes, sir.
and at the end, you sign it, attesting that it to be true and correct to the best of your ability.
Yes, sir.
And you detail in that search or that application for a search warrant the location and what you intend on finding as a result of going into somebody's house.
Yes.
Okay. That would be the purview of whoever the lead detective is at that particular time.
Yeah, or who was just writing the search warrant. There's a lot of times people write search warrants and they're not lead detectives, but yes, I agree with what you're saying for the most part.
And in this case, Detective Mogg was the responsible detective to petition for that search warrant.
Yes, he was.
And he was the one who signed that affidavit.
Yes, he was.
Now, you were on scene as a detective to help him with that, with the execution of the search warrant.
Correct.
And it isn't just you and Detective Mogg, there's other people from Metro that's present as well.
Yes, sir.
Other detectives as well.
Yes, sir.
As well as the crime scene analysts that we have on scene.
Yes.
And they're all looking for information.
Correct.
Now, the information that you're looking for is based upon my client's residence, right, Mr. Davis' residence.
For that search warrant, yes.
And you are looking for evidence that would take you back 30 years to whether or not that person was involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Yes.
Okay. So the information that we've received here today is the fruits of your labor from that search warrant.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in addition to that, there were numerous different electronic devices that were taken from the scene.
Yes.
Now, are you aware that one of the intents or one of the focuses of the search was to look for evidence or facts specifically about the writing of a book?
Yes.
Okay, meaning the book that you had shown to the jury, that particular book, there was a search or at least an intent to look for evidence that would help support whether Mr. Davis had a manuscript.
I don't think I reviewed a book up here when I was being shown the evidence. I know the book that you're referring to.
Right, and I'm just showing you, once again, if I could have
Show my versions, I might.
I have it. I'm part of this. Showing you it's been marked and admitted as State's Exhibit 104, this document or this book right here.
Yes.
Okay, so this book was the one of the focuses of the search.
Yes.
And in the application for the search warrant, fair to say that as a detective, you would read the parameters in which Mr. or Detective Mogg at the time had requested in terms of the purpose of the search.
He would have documented that in there, yes.
Yeah. And for instance, would a review of the application and affidavit of search warrant help refresh your recollection as to what Detective Mogg had requested from a court to allow him to search for?
I actually have not read the full document before.
Oh.
I can review it if you'd like. But yeah, I up to this point have not read the full document.
Okay. So you're saying though that the person that could best tell this jury what he applied for would be Detective Mogg?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, in addition to that, looking at the State's Exhibit number 104, the name that's on top over here, did this name have any significance to you in participating in the search warrant in this case?
Yes.
What significance does this name have to you?
We knew that was Duane Davis's nickname or street name.
Is that correctly spelled?
I don't know.
Yeah, and then with regard to this person right here, do you know who this person was?
Yes, I do now.
Who was that person?
Yosef Yal.
Now, with regard to Yosef Yal, can you tell the jury a little bit about who he is?
He was to my understanding, he's the co-author of the book.
Okay. Now, you had a chance at some point to speak with Mr. Yal.
Yes, sir.
And just for my recollection, do you recall when you spoke to him?
It was on about Memorial Day of this year.
So 2026?
Yes, sir.
Memorial Day. Do you recall when the grand jury occurred with regards to this case?
In 2023.
All right. And so explain a little bit to the jury what a grand jury is.
It's a jury that have been assimilated here at the Clark County Regional Justice Center. They hear cases, then they determine if there is sufficient cause to issue an indictment on the accused.
And typically that would be something, if you were the primary detective, you would have been involved in this particular one, but you were not.
That's correct.
Okay. That would be something that Detective Mogg would be responsible for.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in addition to that, with regards to Yusuf, we had read off a bunch of names the state had, and I want to make sure I'm clear here. Was his name read off as one of the names that they had issued some type of warrant or something for in this case?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, so you interviewed Yusuf about May of this year. He's on the book cover, but you don't ask the court for a warrant for his arrest in California.
No, I did not.
Or some type of notice in California, hey, you need to show up to court.
No, we did not.
Okay. And did you ever at any point go down after your meeting with Yusuf to knock on his door again and say, hey, Yusuf, can you please come to Nevada based upon our interview or discussion?
No, I did not.
Now, in addition to that, when you went down to speak to Yusuf, at that particular time, you're with Clifford Mogg, right?
That's correct.
Now, at that particular point, Clifford Mogg is not a detective with Metro.
Correct.
He had been retired at that point how many years?
2.5, maybe?
Okay. And so you accompanied him down to California to do that interview with Yusuf?
With several people, yes.
Okay. But you're going down as a police officer with the Metropolitan Police Department at that particular point?
Yes.
But not Clifford Mogg. He's not a police officer at that point.
Correct, he was not.
He is an investigator with the Clark County District Attorney's Office.
Yes, sir.
Now, based upon that particular interview, did you conduct that interview?
No, primarily Detective Mogg did, or Investigator Mogg did.
Sure. And after that interview, did you draft an officer's report documenting what you learned in the course of that interview?
No, I did not.
That would be something that Detective Mogg or Mr. Mogg would have done?
Sometimes we don't write an officer's report just for like an interview synopsis. We'll typically get those transcribed.
Okay. Now, in this case, for instance, the officer's report are pretty important, right?
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about going to the evidence locker, and we were all present at the evidence locker, right?
Yes, sir.
It's my assistant, the guilty looking one over there with glasses, myself, and my investigator as well as Mr. Giacomo, Mr. Renew, Clifford Mogg, and yourself.
And my sergeant, Igor DeCaro.
Yeah. Now, after that particular incident, you wrote an officer's report, right?
That one I did, yes.
Right. Once again, it's important to document what happens on a given event.
Correct.
Okay. Now, in this particular regard, did you at any point of your participation in this case, in that submission of that report, ever view a officer's report from Clifford Mogg?
No, I have not reviewed an officer's report from him.
Are you aware that Clifford Mogg began his responsibilities as the main detective on this case in either 2017 or 18?
My understanding, yes, that's correct.
And he had been the investigator from that time period, and we'll just give you the benefit of that, 2018, all the way up to 2023 when he retired.
Correct.
But as of right now, as you sit here, you've never read an officer's report from Detective Mogg in between that time period?
Pertaining to this investigation, no.
No. Now, in addition to that, there was some discussion about people. Was there ever a compelling order or a warrant issued for Suge Knight in this case?
Not to my knowledge, or if there was, I didn't have a role in that.
Right, and fair to say you know exactly where Suge Knight is today.
Yes,
He's actually in custody.
correct.
Okay. Did you ever at any point issue a compelling order or a warrant for Foxy Brown?
I did not.
Okay. Do you know who she is?
I don't.
Okay. That would have been something that maybe Mr. Monk would know of.
Yes.
Okay. How about for an individual named Big Meech from Detroit?
I don't know who that is.
Once again,
I have not issued a yes.
So
And the
that-
same answer that Detective Mogg would be, he would have more knowledge on that.
Now, the articles that we took a look at here that the jury was introduced to, do you know any reason, besides the fact that they were taken from my client's house, do you know who put those articles together?
I do not.
Do you know the purpose of those articles?
I do not.
Okay. Now, fair to say, in the course and scope of your investigation as a detective now, one of the things that you would look for if you were looking at a suspect would be through their phone. Right?
In today's age, yes.
Yeah. And one of the things you look for either on their phone or on their computers would be maybe search history.
Yes.
And what you're looking for is if a person is Googling an address and Googling up a shooting that took place on the corner of Charleston and, I don't know, Wallaby, and they're doing it over and over again, that would lend some issue as to why you're looking up the details of a shooting that, say, nobody knows, right?
Yes.
And that would help you determine whether that person has knowledge of a shooting that pretty much nobody else would know.
I can't say nobody else would know, but they would show that they do have knowledge of the incident occurring.
Right. Now, in terms of those articles, though, can you say that that's what that was for?
I cannot.
Now, in addition to that, in your experience, we had spoken a little bit about this folder here. I'm going to show you again for the jury. This is State's Exhibit 37. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. 137. Do you remember this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I just want to make sure I'm not colorblind, but is this blue?
No, sir.
Yeah. There looks like there might be like a candy cane on top of it,
That's correct.
and something else that's there. It looks like a little snowman or something like that. Do you know what the purpose of this folder was?
No, other than it being just like a scrapbook type.
But nothing else besides that?
I don't know any other relevance to that.
Okay, and just for the record, it's got green in here as well. It looks like a pretty festive notebook or
Yes.
folder.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in your one of the things that you had shared with us as well is the search warrant in this case that was found on scene. This would have been this would be State's Exhibit 136. You recall looking at this particular document here?
Yes, I do.
In terms of this document, this is a document that looks like this occurred back in May of 1997.
Correct.
And this obviously was in a different state. This is California.
Yes, sir.
And this was a search warrant of what looks like to be a house that would have been attributed to my client.
I'm not sure who it is, who resided there then. I know the address is there, the California.
Yeah, it would be the California address that's on the next page, right? I just don't want to push it again. But let's turn to the last page here. One of the things that was made mention by the state, and just pointing the jury to the receipt of property taken, that's like our property return
Yes.
or search warrant return. Okay.
That's correct.
And in it, it identifies various different things that was taken from that particular residence.
Yes, sir.
Now, one of the things that's in here, for instance, is this line number 4, money due bill for the Monte Carlo casino. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Do you have that?
No, I do not.
Was there any copy of that in the house that you searched in 2023?
Not that we found.
And with regards to that particular description there, can you tell us, for instance, just by the description alone, when that money due bill was dated?
I don't know from that description. We just know when the search warrant was issued, so I would assume previous to that
Right.
issue date.
Right, but we don't know an exact date.
Correct.
And the other things that are on here, for instance, the 9 miscellaneous photographs, all these things are things that another detective wrote down in the course and scope of their investigation.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in addition to that, when you were in Mr. Davis's home, you had identified, or there were various different electronic devices that were seized.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with regard to those electronic devices, there were quite a few.
Yes.
Those electronic devices, and I just want to make sure I'm clear here, you had taken a Dell Inspiron 1764 laptop computer.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever at any point cause that computer to be reviewed for information that would help you lead to whether or not Mr. Davis wrote that book or helped write that book?
I did not.
Okay. And just for the jury's edification, let's make sure we're clear. When you're reviewing an electronic device like that, you are looking for files, search history, things that would help you see whether or not Mr. Davis used that particular machine to help write the book, for instance, in this case.
In theory, yes, somebody would do that.
Right. And you also took from the residence a Toshiba laptop computer.
Yes.
Did you find any information that would help you know or learn whether or not Mr. Davis actually wrote Compton Street Legend or anything like that?
I did not write a search warrant to get into the digital items, so I've never reviewed anything from the electronics.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. That would have been Clifford Mogg's job, not your job.
Yes.
Because at the time, he was the detective responsible for this investigation.
Correct.
Now, but I just want to make sure we're clear for the jury. The other items that were seized at that point that you were at least part of the seizure would have been a Toshiba satellite laptop computer. So that's 3 computers. Another laptop computer, 8 HP G171 laptop computer, an HP touchscreen desktop computer, an iPad, another iPad, and a Sky device tablet. Those were the things that were taken from the residence, right?
That sounds accurate, yes.
And just stop me if you think I'm wrong, if you need to look at something, all right?
Okay.
In addition to that, it looks like there was some drives that were taken as well, a Toshiba external drive, a USB drive, and an iPad with a broken screen, and an iPhone in a black case.
Yes.
Okay. And those were all the fruits of your search of Mr. Davis's residence when you went there?
Yes, sir.
And once again, whatever was found inside of those objects would be something that would be Detective Mogg's responsibility to tell this jury, not you.
Yes, yes, sir.
Mrs. Detective Gaddis, I'm done with my cross-examination of you.
Okay.
I appreciate your answers today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanft. Mr. Jackman will redirect.
Detective Gaddis, Mr. Sanft said we're 2 separate agencies. That's accurate, correct?
Yes, sir.
How often, let me ask you this, do you work very closely with the DA's office?
Yes, I do.
What is the soonest you've called the DA after you've shown up to a crime scene?
Oh, within an hour. Absolutely.
And are we, as the prosecutors, involved in the investigation from the beginning?
Yes, sir.
Or were you aware that prior to the search warrant, or are you aware if prior to the search warrant, Mr. Palal and I were already involved in this investigation?
Yes, you were.
And were you aware the determination or the decision that was made as it relates to Mr. Detective Mogg, remaining the investigator on this case?
I don't know how those decisions were made.
Let me ask it this way. Are you aware that that decision was made the day he retired?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And your role and Sergeant DeCaro's role is if we needed a Metro police officer, you were supposed to assist.
Correct.
And do you have any active cases where the reports are not done?
Yes, sir.
And usually the report is done when all of the work is done.
Correct.
And so that's completed when you're done investigating.
Correct.
Mr. Sanft also mentioned something about the fact that your job is to find the facts. Do you remember him saying something like that?
Yes.
Is your job and our job any different than that we're here to uncover facts?
We have the same mission. Do it in different ways, but yes, the same mission.
And are you aware that my investigators oftentimes interview witnesses?
Yes.
And that's not something that's unusual.
No.
Is there anything that you feel was improper with the idea of Detective Mogg becoming my contract investigator on this particular case?
Objection, Your Honor, is the opinion. I'm not quite clear what the relevance of that question is.
Well, his entire cross was, hey, this is really odd, this is really unusual, there's something wrong here by Detective Mogg becoming Mr. Mogg and continuing the investigation. So I'm asking her, in her experience, is there anything inappropriate about that?
I don't know how her experience is relevant. Yep.
He opened the door by asking her those questions.
Overruled.
I would say Detective Mogg would have been the best fit to do it because he had the most intelligence and knowledge of the investigation.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. Sanft?
Yes, Your Honor. Since we walked through this door, so with regards to Detective Mogg in this case, he was the best fit for this investigation?
He had the most knowledge of it, yes.
He had the most knowledge of it because he did not write an officer's report. Fair?
Objection assumes a fact, not an evidence.
Can you approach? All right, it's overruled. You may ask your question.
And I just forgot the question, so let me back it up real quick here. So you're telling us, though, that he was the best for the job?
Yes.
Okay. And that at the time of his retirement, 2023, he was the best for the job?
He had the most knowledge of it, yes.
Yes, and he had the most knowledge of it because he was the primary detective on the case?
For the preceding several years, yes.
Yes. And when he retired, he did not have an officer's report?
I don't know if he did or didn't.
Well, I'm just based upon your knowledge, you're saying you don't know.
Yeah, I know. I've never actually read it. I don't know if he did.
So you don't know if he had an officer's report?
Correct.
And you say he was the best for the case, even though technically there were other detectives on your unit that could have taken over that case?
There are additional detectives, absolutely, yes.
And are you saying that somehow Detective Mogg had something different compared to all the other detectives that could have taken over that case from the homicide division?
Well, I say that about Detective Mogg because he had those 4 or 5 years of experience already invested into the case. So for him to kind of finish it out and to see it through, to me, that made the most sense, in my opinion.
But without capturing it, putting it down on an officer's report?
Well, objection. She just answered she doesn't know if there is one.
Let me ask you this question. I'll withdraw the question. In terms of, as you sit here right now, there was a cold case unit, right?
Yes, we do. We have a
And
cold case.
The cold case unit would investigate crimes that occurred, like say, for instance, in this case, 30 years ago.
Yes, I do.
And they could have very easily taken this file as well, right?
So from my understanding, when Detective Mogg obtained this case, we did not have a cold case unit in our section at that time. That didn't come into play until maybe 2020 that we were able to fulfill a cold case detectives.
Okay. And so, in terms of the way you're describing it, are you saying that Detective Mogg was operating a cold case?
No, he was on an active squad for the entirety of his time in the homicide section. But when he received this case from the preceding detectives, we didn't have a cold case unit for them to have investigated it. So basically, any of the cold cases came down to the next person in line, more or less, and that happened to be Detective Mogg.
All right. And in terms of the Detective Mogg situation, are you telling us, though, that he was hired by Metro as an investigator doing cold cases?
No, he was a detective with Metro, employed as a commissioned officer. He wasn't hired by Metro separately to do cold cases.
And I apologize for that. Let me just back up here. So, are you aware of a retired officer by the name of Dean O'Kelly?
Yes, sir.
And he, at some point, worked on cold cases.
Yes, he did.
And he worked on cold cases after he retired.
Correct.
And prior to that, he was actually a homicide detective.
Yes, sir.
So, I apologize, maybe I wasn't clear on my question. But are you telling us that that's what Detective Mogg did in this case? That after he retired, he became an investigator, just like Dean O'Kelly, on cold cases?
Detective Mogg did not do that with Metro.
And once again, as you're sitting here right now, you don't know of any officer's report up until the time he retires.
That's correct.
Are you aware of any other reports that he wrote after he retired in this case?
No, sir.
Are you, and once again, any reports at all that would be put in the file to help the next detective with the investigation, anything like that?
I'm not aware of them.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. DiGiacomo?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? Seeing no hands, thank you, Detective Gaddis. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Does it make sense to break for lunch at this time?
We have one short witness, but maybe we could do a restroom break and then break for lunch.
Does anyone in the jury have to use the restroom? Yes? Okay. All right. So we will take a break. During the recess, you're admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any recorded or commentary on the trial of any person connected with this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, internet, and radio, or from which express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is submitted to you. We'll have you guys back here at 11:40. Please rise for the jury. For the record, the jury has exited the room. We'll be in recess. Back on record in C377407. Over the break, one of our jurors let Marshal Spies know that it was juror 5, Sydney Stratton, let the marshal know that she knows Mr. Scott, who was the CSA who testified. I don't know any more information about that. I was just going to have her come out and ask her some questions about that relationship, see if it would affect her ability to be fair and impartial, and then if you guys have any questions about it, just I'll give you that opportunity as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can we get Ms. Stratton in? Randy? No? You- Okay. For the record, Ms. Stratton has exited the room. You may be seated. Anything else we need to discuss on that issue?
Not from the state. No, you're not.
Anything we need to discuss outside the presence?
Not from the state. No, you're not.
All right, we'll get the jurors lined up. And who is the witness that we're going to do next?
Mark Hat.
Mark Hat.
Yeah, he's a firearms person,
Okay.
so he should be short.
All right, then as soon as we get the jury in, we'll proceed with that one short witness, and then we'll take our lunch break. You had said there were 6 witnesses you wanted to get on, and we've done 5?
And then one in the afternoon.
So the 6th is in the afternoon?
Yes.
Understood. Okay.
We believe we should take most, if not all, of them.
Okay, no worries.
Maybe not. I mean, who knows? They talk all day.
Stand for the jury.
Will the parties stipulate to the comments of the jury?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, you may be seated. All right, state you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please call Mark Hatton.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You may have a seat.
Thank you.
Sir, if you please state your full name and then spell it for the record.
Mark Hatton, M-A-R-K-H-A-T-T-E-N.
Thank you, sir. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hatton, how are you employed?
I'm currently a police officer with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I was hired in 2007. I also worked as a NIBIN technician within the firearms unit of the forensic laboratory at the Metro Forensic Lab for 7 years, from 2018 until 2025.
Can you tell us what NIBIN is?
Yes, NIBIN stands for the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. It's a program that's overseen by the federal agency, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, otherwise known as the ATF. And this is a technology that contains hardware and software that takes high-resolution 2D and 3D images of a cartridge case that has been fired, or a cartridge, excuse me, that has been fired out of the firearm. It looks specifically at the head stamp area, and I also brought a model with me of a cartridge if the court will allow me to use this, and I could also pass this around to the jury so you can get a closer look and see exactly and understand what NIBIN is looking at.
Mr. Hatton, you're getting a little ahead of me, but let's go. No, it's fine. I was going to ask you, what is a cartridge case?
Cartridge case, what this is called is a cartridge, and once it's fired, the bullet gets projected out of the barrel, and the cartridge case gets ejected from the firearm. And basically it contains all the components of a cartridge, including the bullet, the cartridge case. Can I use
Yes,
them?
and so it appears you brought a demonstrative. Your Honor, may the witness use the demonstrative for the purposes of explaining it to the jury.
Is it the tube? Yeah. Okay. Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so during the firing process, when somebody pulls the trigger, this bullet will project out of the barrel, and this is the cartridge case. This is the head stamp area. It can be stamped with the manufacturer of the ammunition as well as the caliber, and this is the what NIBIN looks at, specifically the primer area, which contains a small explosive that ignites the gunpowder within the cartridge case.
And then on the back of the cartridge, you had mentioned that, or the cartridge case, you had mentioned that the strike that causes the explosion to expunge the bullet, is that strike unique or something that you look at in determining whether or not a cartridge has been fired from a similar, the same gun?
Yes, it's unique because during the manufacturing process of the firearm, it has tooling marks and it's hardened steel. This metal is soft, so this comes out at very high velocity. So when that slams into the firearm, it imparts its unique markings from that tooling process directly onto the cartridge case.
Now, I'm going to direct your attention to case number 960907-2063, where you asked to do some work on that case.
Yes, I was.
And is it fair to say that, and the jury's already heard this and they've been received in evidence, that 7 cartridge cases with a head stamp of 140 S&W were recovered from that scene?
That's correct.
And then initially, when this case first occurred in 1996, they were run through the database that existed in 1996. Is that fair to say?
Not in 1996, it was in 2003, because NIBIN was not created. It was a program called DrugFire, and NIBIN actually was implemented in 1997, but of course it takes time to build up the database, so it really wasn't really, the database wasn't built up until about the early 2000s. So that's when they actually initially entered this cartridge case into the NIBIN system.
So in 1996, it was DrugFire, and then in 2003, it was re-entered into NIBIN. Is that fair to say?
I don't have any knowledge if this was entered into DrugFire.
So we'll focus on 2003, the NIBIN entry. Did the cartridges used in this particular cartridge cases collected in this case match any other cartridge cases that were entered into NIBIN back in 2003?
They did not.
Did they match any other firearm that was recovered by 2003?
They did not.
Now, in 2023, were you asked to re-enter these cartridge cases or re-examine them within the NIBIN system?
Yes, I was.
And that request, I think, was made by Mark DeJacopo.
Yes, it was.
And had technology changed between 2003 and 2023?
Yes, so that 20-year period, yes, the cameras and the resolution has definitely improved over that 20-year time frame.
And is it also fair to say that probably in the intervening 20 years, more cartridge cases and more firearms have been entered into the NIBIN system?
Yes, it's the gold standard of that type of ballistics. So everybody uses it now, and yes, there's millions of images in the database.
And did you actually conduct the? Did you actually look into NIBIN to see whether or not this cartridge case matched any other cartridge case that was entered into NIBIN?
Yes, I entered it into NIBIN myself, and we did a nationwide search, and it looked throughout the entire country, and then the NIBIN results had no associations other to the original entry from 2003.
So what you learned from NIBIN is when you entered the cartridge in 2003, it matched the cartridge you entered in 2023.
That's correct.
But nationwide, it did not match any other cartridge case that had been previously entered into NIBIN.
No, it did not.
Yeah, pass.
Any, sorry, cross-examination, Mr. Sanft?
Sir, did you actually look at the actual cartridge casings themselves?
Yes, I looked all 7 side by side, and I screened them and then grouped them into one grouping, which represents one firearm.
All right. And as far as you recall or understand that the cartridge casings were located at one scene, not multiple scenes?
I didn't look into the case notes. That's to try to keep our distance. We don't do any investigative work at the lab, so we don't want to bias our mind to what was. So I did not review any of the crime scene photos, any of the diagrams. I do not know. All I know is I have 7 cartridge cases. How do they group, and which ones to enter?
Okay. And so out of the 7, all of them look like they were fired from the same firearm?
Yes, they had similar visual characteristics, and I entered one, which I assigned as lab item 1.
I see. So no one of them was different, like indicating maybe another gun was used. All of them were from the same gun.
That's correct.
Right. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further, State?
No, Your Honor.
Any questions from our jurors? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Hatton. You are free to go. You are
Thank you, Your Honor.
excused. That was our short witness before the lunch break?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds good. So at this time, we are going to take our lunch break. During this recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial of any person connected with this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is submitted to you. We'll have you guys back here at 1 p.m. for further testimony. Please rise for the jury. For the record, the jury has exited the room. Anything we need to address outside the presence?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. So we're going to have Robert Ladd testify at whenever we come back at.
Okay, you can all be seated.
And there was this outstanding issue during our gang motion about the term shot caller. Now, in the interim, we found that Mr. Davis refers to himself as the shot caller in the book. I don't know that that was pointed out. I had not realized that at the time of that motion, so I certainly failed to point that out. But at this point, the state's going to be asking that we allow Mr. Ladd to use that term. When I pre-trialed him last night, I told him he is not allowed to use it unless the court gives a go-ahead, so he's aware of that prohibition. But I
Was
think
the idea that he was going to be the one to lay the foundation, that he was the shot caller, that
Yes.
allegedly PPD
Yes.
was the shot caller?
Yes.
So we can use that term and attempt to lay the foundation, and then I guess we can just, at some point, you can approach and say, has that been conclusively established or something?
okay, so I just want to know the
going forward?
mechanism. So I'm not going to have him say it at all, and then I will try and lay the general gang foundation, and then I'll lie the foundation for Mr. Davis's role within the gang, and at that point, I'll probably just ask to approach out of an abundance of caution, and then see if the foundation's with
Does that work for you, Mr. Sanft?
It does, Your Honor. I did have one for the housekeeping matter for the shot caller issue.
Yes.
Okay.
The other issue is that we're asking the court to see if we could just exclude putting on the record or publishing to everybody the addresses of my clients in terms of where his family still lives today in Compton. So if we're going to talk about a location, that we just use maybe the street name, something like that, to differentiate
I
between
think
the two.
that's appropriate. For
That might be problematic.
not to give the exact address.
So can we?
You
So
can say like
without
the
giving
3600 block, maybe.
Can we? I think it's a little complicated because there's a 1405 and a 4. There's two houses on the same block, and so I think if Mr. Sam doesn't object to us just saying that on the search warrants it's listed as Mr. Davis's house without giving the actual address, or Mr. Anderson's or Miss Anderson's house without giving the actual address, I'm happy to do that. Like, I'm not trying to cause any problems. It's just that I don't want the vagary used against us.
Sure. Would that compromise work for your purposes?
Yes, Your Honor, because I think that's all we're asking, is just refer to who the house is.
The exhibits themselves that will be admitted list the actual address, but we won't display those portions of the exhibits publicly, if that helps.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Yes, Your
Sounds good.
Honor.
Okay. Anything else on that thing, Mr. Sanft?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else we need to address in general? Hearing nothing, we'll be in recess. Thanks, guys.
When are we coming back to
1 o'clock. Record. We're on record in State versus Davis, C-377-407. Anything that we need to address outside the presence of the jurors?
Not from the state.
Okay. And we have Mr. Ladd
Yes.
ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we don't have to delay for him? Perfect. All right, we'll get the jurors lined up and we'll bring them in. They are lined up? Okay, perfect. And just so I'm aware, 1 o'clock tomorrow is the plan?
Yes. 1 o'clock tomorrow. I think this is our last witness for today. I don't know how long it's going to take, but
Okay. So once I have them recess after this witness, we'll tell them to come back at 1 p.m. tomorrow.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
And are we still starting noon on Thursday?
That's the idea. If you guys are ready at that time, so you guys can talk about it and let me know.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, perfect.
Stand for the jury.
Do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may all be seated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you liked lunch. We are still in the state's case in chief. Mr. Palal, you're standing up, so I assume you're calling your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. State calls Robert Ladd.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Robert Ladd, ROBERT, LADD.
You may proceed, Mr. Palal.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Ladd.
How you doing, sir?
Sir, can you tell us a little bit about your employment?
Yes, I'm retired now, but I was a police officer for 32 years.
Where did you start your career?
I started in 1983 when I was hired by the city of Compton.
And what was your initial position with the city of Compton?
A patrol officer.
And then did you change positions at some point?
Yes, when I was a patrol officer for several years, and that really was my beginning introduction into the world of the Crips and Bloods, because most of the radio calls that we got in Compton revolved around gang activity. So I got to learn there, the way they dressed, their territories, how to read graffiti, and then in 1988 I was promoted to the gang unit.
And for our edification, how big is Compton?
Compton's a 10 square mile city. It had a population of 100,000 people, and we had 55 active gangs in this little 10 square mile city.
And is it fair to say that most of the gangs were affiliated either with the Crips or Blood or Mob and various subsets of those types of groups?
Yes, it was basically Crips, Pyrus, and Hispanic gangs.
Okay.
Mr. Palal, you've reminded me that this may be a good time to read the Tavares instruction.
You're right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are going to hear testimony regarding drug trafficking, conspiracy, federal convictions, as well as gang affiliation. These are not offered to show the defendant's propensity to commit crime or any other improper purpose, and you may not consider it for those purposes. It is only offered to establish the credibility of his prior statement, the statements made by defendant, motive, and identity. You may proceed, Mr. Palal.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, and then tell us a little bit about your career in terms of, you said in 1983 you became a patrol officer and you were patrolling Compton, which had you responding to a lot of gang-related calls. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
And then you ultimately go to the gang unit, is that correct?
Yes.
And were you assigned a partner?
Yes, my partner was Tim Brennan.
And then who was the lieutenant in charge of the gang unit at that time?
Lieutenant Reggie Wright Sr.
During your time as a gang detective, did you also respond to a lot of gang activity in Compton?
Yes, when I got into the gang unit in 1988, Compton was a very violent city. We were averaging 70 to 80 homicides a year and hundreds of shootings. So my responsibilities now were to investigate all gang-related crimes, gather intelligence, and photograph and identify gang members. And I also went out on a daily basis and tried to contact gang members and talk to them when I arrested them. And also I tried to talk to them out in the field so I could kind of build a rapport with these gang members out there.
Okay, so you'll have to forgive me, but when I think of a officer or detective rolling through Compton and trying to start up a conversation with a gang member. It seems weird to me that the gang member would want to interact with you at all. Like, how did you develop that rapport?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes several years. You just gotta treat them fair, and you have to talk to them like you'd want to be talked to. And we didn't sweat them on the small stuff. We let patrol kind of do that. For instance, if they were out there just drinking some beer or smoking some marijuana or whatever, we'd come up and we'd talk to them and say, man, we're not going to sweat you on that stuff. And so over time they say, all right, this guy's pretty cool, we'll talk to him.
And then your partner, Tim Brennan, he ultimately was given a nickname Blondie. Is that right?
Yes, DJ Quick wrote an underground song about it, and it was called Blondie. So everybody in Compton knew my partner was Blondie. He kind of became famous over it.
Can you tell me a little bit about any type of gang training that you've given as somebody who has dealt with Bloods and Crips in Compton specifically?
Yes, it was from 2001 to about 2010 that my partner Tim and I, we taught at many national seminars right here in Vegas and in California also. And this is where thousands of police officers come from all over the country as well as around the world to learn about the Crips and Bloods. And so we taught them about that.
You had mentioned that in a city as small as 100,000 people, you would have somewhere between 50 to 60 or more homicides a year, and then additional hundreds of shootings. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about the volume of these types of cases? Were they mostly gang-related shootings and homicides?
Most of them were, yes. And in 1993, I was promoted to gang homicide detective and started handling all the gang homicides too. I did this till the year 2000, and so I spent 12 straight years in the gang unit. And during that time, I handled hundreds of homicide cases and thousands of shootings. And I actually talked to thousands of gang members, and I got to know really the way they talk, the way they think, the way they act, basically their overall mentality about gang life in general.
I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the difficulties associated with investigating gang cases. As somebody who did hundreds of investigations and homicides and thousands of shootings, did gang cases in particular present investigatory problems?
Absolutely. Gang cases, they're the hardest to solve, especially in Compton, because there's a code out in the street where you're not supposed to talk to the police, you're not supposed to go to court, or you get labeled a snitch. And the other problems that we have is that the good citizens that actually see what happened and want to come forward, they're afraid to. They get intimidated by these gangsters, and so they're really hard. We really don't have any witnesses, so we kind of rely on a lot of informants to get our information out there in the streets.
And then you mentioned relying on informants, but is it fair to say that if somebody wants to, if a case needs to be prosecuted or brought to court, somebody can't remain a confidential, reliable informant? They actually have to reveal who they are.
That's true.
And as part of your investigating homicides and shootings, was that a problem to get people to come forward and testify as opposed to giving you information on background?
Yes, it's very difficult because when they come to court, if you can get them to come to court, they don't want to get involved. They don't want to say anything, so they're not cooperating.
And you said being labeled a snitch was something that was frowned upon. In your training and experience, were there any other types of consequences for people who are labeled snitches in Compton, California, in gang life?
Absolutely. These guys take the code very seriously, and if you get labeled a snitch, it's probably the worst thing that can happen to you as a gang member. You're probably going to have to leave the state if you want to get, if you don't want to get severely beaten down all the way up to getting murdered. So they take it very seriously.
Now, I'm going to ask you now about gang in particular. I'm going to ask you about, I'm going to ask you about the South Side Compton Crips. During your time in Compton, California, were you familiar with the South Side Compton Crips?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell us a little bit about the South Side Compton Crips?
Yes, the South Side Crips, they're located in the southeast portion of our city, and their area, they're one of our larger gangs. It's probably a half mile in every direction. There was an excess of 100 documented active gang members at the time, and they identified themselves by wearing the color blue. So when you contacted a Southside Crip member, he's going to have something blue on, a blue shoestrings, a blue rag, blue, anything blue identifies him with being a Crip gang member. And also the Southside Crip members adopted the Seattle Mariners baseball cap. It's a blue cap, it had an S on it, and to them the S stood for Southside Crips.
Now, I'm going to direct your attention to specifically the mid-90s, 1995, 1996. Were you familiar with somebody by the name of Duane Davis?
Yes.
Were you aware, was he somebody that was a high-ranking person in that gang or a low-ranking person in that gang?
Well, as high as you can get, yeah.
Now, what are the different levels of gangsters in Southside, or just general gangs? Are there different levels?
Yes, there's definitely a hierarchy within the black gangs in Compton. There's really 3 phases that these guys go through. The first phase is the BG, or baby gangster phase. And this is the time when they're just joining a gang, and usually, most of the time, not all the time, they get jumped in. And by getting jumped in, you have to show how tough you are. So it probably lasts about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, where 5, 6, 7 gang members are going to try to beat this guy up, and he's got to fight with them to show how tough he is. And if he passes, he gets to join the gang. And these are the ages between 12, 13 to 15 and 16. And this is the beginning stages, so they're out there doing low-level crime, such as graffiti, selling drugs for the older gang members, and being lookouts.
And then is there a level above that?
Yeah, the next level we call the gangster phase, and that's from the ages from 15 to 16 to about 25 or 26. Now this is a stage where these guys do the most violence. They're the ones out there that are committing the drive-by shootings and murders and robberies and carjacking. What they're trying to do is they're trying to earn their stripes for the gang so they can get kind of respect within the gang. So this is the most violent time for these gangsters.
And then is there another level in the hierarchy?
Yes, the last level is ages 25 to 26 on up. And these are the guys that, a lot of them went to prison during their gangster phase, and a lot of them are getting older now, and they put in the work. They call it earning their stripes within the gang. They're getting their respect now. They're the older gangsters. And these guys become the leaders or shot callers of the gang. And they tell the younger officers what to do. And again, they take this very seriously. If the older OGs tell younger gangsters what to do, they do it without hesitation. If they don't, there's going to be severe consequences. I've seen all the way from severe beatdowns all the way up to murder.
Right. Now, in that hierarchy, so we have baby gangsters, just, what was the middle one called? Just gangsters?
Just gangsters.
Gangsters, and then like OGs. Did you happen to know in the mid-90s where Duane Davis stood in that hierarchy?
Yes, he was a shot caller.
Your Honor, when they approach?
You bet.
All right, so you're saying that Mr. Davis was a shot caller within the South Side Compton Crips.
Absolutely, yes.
And what does that mean?
Well, he could tell the younger gangsters what to do, and if they don't listen, like I just said, there's going to be severe consequences. The younger gang members are supposed to do what they're told without hesitation.
Now, were you aware of whether or not Mr. Davis was a narcotics trafficker?
Yes, he was definitely a high-level narcotics dealer. Compton, we're a small city, and we didn't have the manpower or the resources to go after a major narcotics dealer like Mr. Davis. But during my time in the gang unit, we were approached by two different agencies, the FBI task force, really, the DEA and FBI task force, and they would come to us because they wanted information on Mr. Davis's fellow gang members who he hung around with. And basically they would tell us that he's trafficking narcotics across the United States all the way to the East Coast.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Mr. Davis. Would you see him sometimes in Compton?
Yes, many, many times I've seen Mr. Davis.
And can you, do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, I.
Can you please point him out and identify an article of clothing he's wearing?
Yeah, he's male black sitting at the end of the table wearing it's either gray or black suit.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the identification of the defendant in this case?
It will.
All right, and how would Mr. Davis dress in normal, like, gangster attire, like you were talking about before, or would he dress differently?
No, in his later years after he became the leader, whenever I'd see him, he'd be nicely dressed. Have the brim hat on, and he wouldn't have anything gangster-like on. He was always well-dressed.
I'm going to ask you now about somebody by the name of Orlando Anderson. Were you familiar with Mr. Anderson?
Yes, I was very familiar with Mr. Anderson. I had many, many contacts with him.
Okay, and can you tell us how you first became aware of Mr. Anderson's involvement in gang activity, if such activity existed?
Yes, I guess you could say I was there for his initiation into the gang. My partner Tim Brennan and I, we were at a fast food restaurant getting something to eat, and we're in the drive-thru. And this particular restaurant was right adjacent to the South Side Crip territory. And there's an alley that runs just adjacent to it. So as we got our food, and we were driving out of the fast food restaurant, and all of a sudden we heard a barrage of shots. We can hear them hitting our car. Then heard about 5 or 6 shots, right? So after the shots stopped, we looked at each other, jumped out of the car, made sure we were all right, and we ran to where the shots were coming from. And witnesses were pointing down the street, and I saw 3 male blacks running down towards a known gang hangout. So these guys ran in there. We called the troops. We subsequently arrested Orlando Anderson and 2 other people, and during their interviews they said that was part of their initiation. They didn't have to be jumped in if they tried to kill me and my partner. So they were automatically in the gang, and Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter during this incident.
Was not.
Was not.
Yeah. Now, were you familiar, well, did Orlando Anderson, to your knowledge, have any relation to Duane Davis?
Yes, we found out that it was Orlando Anderson was Keffe's nephew. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And Keffe is what Mr. Davis went by?
Yeah, Keffe D.
Yeah, Keffe D. Is that kind of how you're used to referring to Mr.
Yes,
Davis?
I kind of know them by their nicknames, really.
Okay. And then, were you also familiar with somebody by the name of Terrence Bubble Up Brown?
Yes. Had many contacts with Mr. Brown. He was kind of an older gangster, call him a wobbler. I still considered him in the gangster phase, but he kind of was a little older too.
And I guess in the mid-'90s, what phase or what level would you say Orlando Anderson was?
Definitely gangster phase.
And then Did he go by any nicknames that you're aware of? Orlando Anderson?
Yes, Baby Lane.
And then, were you familiar with somebody by the name of DeAndre Smith?
Yes, DeAndre Smith, many contacts with him. Again, admitted to me, he's a South Side Crip member. His nickname was Big Dre.
Why was he called Big Dre?
Because he was a big man, and he was like 6'4", probably 300 pounds. He was a big guy.
Were you also familiar with a gang called Mob Piru?
Yes.
Can you tell us about Mob Piru?
Yes, they're a gang in the city of Compton, and they're located in the northeast portion of our city. Their gang used to be called the Looters Park Piru. That was their territory. In about 1975 or 76, a group of kids over there wanted to start their own gang and have their own territory, so they started a Mob Piru, which stands for Members of Bloods. Now, their area is probably a quarter mile in each direction, and there's probably 45 to 50 active gang members in this gang also, and they identify themselves by wearing the color red. So, and just like the Crips wore anything blue, the Pirus or Bloods wear everything red.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the flare-up between Mob Piru and South Side Crips, but even before any of the music or any of the particular 1990s issues that we're here to discuss, would it be fair to say that Mob Piru and South Side Crips were natural rivals?
Yes, the Bloods and Crips never got along since they originated way back in the early 70s. They're kind of like just natural enemies because one wears red and one wears blue.
Were you familiar with whether or not Mob Piru associated with any particular record label in the mid-90s?
Yes, Death Row Records.
And do you know who ran Death Row Records at the time?
Yes, Suge Knight.
And were you familiar with Suge Knight prior to his ascension in Death Row Records?
Yeah, we had contact with him before, but not many because he really wasn't a gang member. He didn't really hang out, but he grew up in that neighborhood.
I'm going to ask you about some of the people that you would associate with the Mob Piru. Earlier, I think now it's last week, we met with somebody named James McDonald. Are you familiar with James McDonald?
Yes, very.
Do you recall what his nickname was?
Yes, Mob James.
Now, would you go to the McDonald house in Mob Piru territory?
Yes, Mob James's house was kind of like the main hangout for the Mob Piru, Looters Park Piru. He had two younger brothers, Buntry and Timmy Rue. So this was the main hangout for the Mob Pirus, and we would go there. If you wanted to find a Mob Piru, that's the first place you'd look. So we had many run-ins at this Mob James house.
And were you familiar with somebody by the name of Trayvon Lane?
Yes.
And should publish States Exhibit 60. Do you recognize the person depicted in States Exhibit 60?
Yes, that's Trayvon Lane. His nickname's Trey, and he's a member of the Mob Piru.
Are you familiar with somebody by the name of Roger Williams?
Yes, I am. His nickname is Neckbone, and he's also a member of the Mob Piru.
No, actually, I think I skipped something with Trayvon Lane. You had talked about the 3 levels of being a gangster. What level would you say Trayvon Lane was in the mid-90s?
Gangster.
So like the middle, most violent level.
Yes.
And then with in the mid-90s, what level was Roger Williams?
Definitely gangster.
In the mid-90s, what level was Mob James McDonald?
I would consider him an OG.
And then in, you'd mentioned Buntry. Is that Alton McDonald?
Yes, it is.
And in the mid-90s, what level would you describe him?
Gangster.
And then are you, now in that neighborhood, same neighborhood, there was a person that lived there or grew up there named Reggie Wright Jr. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Were you familiar with Reggie Wright Jr.?
Very, yes.
And when you say very, how are you familiar with Reggie Wright Jr.?
Oh, he used to work at the Compton Police Department. He was a jailer, and then he went to be a full-time police officer, I think, in around 1988. He was only there for like 5 years because he got injured and had to retire.
Now, I'm going to ask you something, I guess, culturally about gang life. How important is one's reputation in the gang world?
Very. It's these guys live for respect. That's how they live their lives.
And then, if somebody felt as though they were disrespected, what would you expect them to do?
They have to retaliate. If a gang member is disrespected, they have to retaliate, or they're considered a punk out in the streets. And if you get considered a punk out in the streets, you kind of lose your respect and credibility.
And what's the consequence of losing your respect and credibility in the streets?
Well, I mean, no, you're going to be nothing in that gang, really.
And then, we talked about the hundreds of murders that you've investigated and the thousands of shootings you've investigated. Was retaliation, in your experience, ever a motive for those shootings or murders?
Yes. I've investigated like 1,000 crimes, and I would say 90% of them are because of disrespect. And so when you get disrespected as a gang member, you can expect some sort of retaliation.
Now, you had heard gathering intelligence about this Lakewood Mall incident. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
But you weren't there, were you?
No.
And just so we're all clear, Lakewood Mall, is that in Compton?
No, it's several miles out of Compton.
And so that wouldn't be something for you to investigate?
No.
But as a gang expert and a gang investigator, what to you is the significance of somebody trying to rip off a gang member's chain?
Well, it's definitely disrespect, especially the chain that they were trying to take at the Lakewood Mall. It was a highly prized medallion, and these guys wore it like a badge of honor. So them try to steal this chain and beat up this subject, it would be a major display of disrespect. So now this guy's got to go back to the Mob Piru and Death Row Records and tell them what happened. So the next time they see each other, it's going to be on site. As soon as they see each other, some confrontation is going to happen.
And you had said that we're talking about the chain. We're talking about that Death Row chain. Is that right?
Yes.
And you had mentioned that they were wearing it with great pride. By they, who are you talking about?
The entourage of Suge Knight. That's Trayvon Lane. Well, back in '95, Suge Knight gave these out as Christmas presents to his entourage, like just, Trayvon, Neckbone, Buntree. They gave one to Reggie Wright Jr. So not too many people had him at this time. So it was a prized possession to these guys.
Now, I'm going to take you forward to September 7th of 1996. You become aware of a shooting that occurs out here in Las Vegas, September 7th, 1996. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How do you become aware of the shooting that occurred here on September 7th, 1996?
Well, I was at home, and I get a call from my boss, who's Reggie Wright Sr., and he tells me that, hey, Suge Knight and Tupac were just shot. Tupac's in critical condition, and get ready because it's coming back to Compton. He told me that they thought the South Side Crips were responsible for the shooting.
And so when he's telling you this, do you now have to have a response to this? Or why is he telling you specifically to get ready?
Because when you disrespect and shoot the biggest rap mogul on the planet and the biggest rap star on the planet, and he surrounds himself with the Mob Piru, then there's going to be some sort of retaliation. And all these guys were from Compton. So when they got back to Compton, we expected a war.
And was there a war?
definitely was a war.
Can you tell us about that? So in the immediate aftermath of the Tupac Shakur shooting, did you notice an uptick in violence in Compton?
Yes, 2 days after Tupac was shot was our first shooting. One of the OGs was at a store on Alondra Boulevard in Compton, and he was shot in the back several times, and a 10-year-old little girl got caught in the crossfire, and she was hit, and she was in critical condition. And the guy that was shot was a South Side Crip member, and again, he was a shot caller for the South Side Crips. His name was Darnell Brim.
Okay, and we've heard Darnell Brim's name before here, but was Darnell Brim part of the same subgroup of the South Side Crips as Duane Davis?
No.